DC Comics have been around for literally almost 100 years, and they have created some of the most iconic characters in the history of comic books, but they've tried, when it comes to, in recent years, sort of follow Marvel's formula of doing a shared universe with their biggest heroes, but it's kind of blown up in their faces. I don't know if DC's cursed. I did a video on it, but things have been really a mess. We have the Ezra Miller situation that's like a crazy scandal. Who knows where that's going? We have the situation with Amber Heard in trial with Johnny Depp. We have, Ben Affleck, and he was having his personal problems. He quit. He came back. You have The Rock on the back burner. You have Henry Cavill, who says he doesn't want to be Superman anymore. Then you hear rumors he's going to come back. Like, it's a complete dumpster fire at this point as far as them having a direction. We have Zack Snyder coming in. He got pulled. They cut his movie. They brought him back. It's just, I'm not going to go through the whole history here, but DC has had so many issues. Literally way, way more issues than Marvel's had. The topic of this video is, what do you do to salvage this? What can really be done? Should they continue what they've been doing and just do singular projects? Should they recast Ezra Miller? What do you do? Like, how do you, or should they scrap the whole thing and start over again? So joining me to talk about this topic is a hardcore DC fan. Actually, I think you're more of a DC fan than a Marvel fan. Right, Hayden?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say. I definitely enjoy the Marvel movies more, although, the DC ones and their darkness can be quite good. I would say, though, in my gut, I might be more of a DC guy, honestly. Batman
comic-wise.
Comic-wise, Batman is my favorite superhero of all time, and I love Superman and Green Lantern probably a bit more than any one Marvel hero. So, yeah, I could probably pick DC over Marvel, just for the comics.
When you look at the DC history of movies, even before the DCEU, it's been very hit or miss. Superman 1 and 2 were great. 3 was okay. 4, not so much. Batman, same thing. 1 and 2 were great. 3 was all right. 4, not so much. Talk about Batman and Robin. Then you've got, different Batman universes. You've got, the animated. I think their animated films are always fantastic. But, okay, Hayden, what do you do about this, bro? You've got Ezra Miller wanted by the cops now. You've got the Amber Heard thing. You've got movies that are finished. Then Batgirl suddenly gets canceled. It just, every time, I don't know about you, dude, but every time I turn on my internet browser, there's something new going on with DC, and it's usually not a good thing. I would say the only shining beacons right now in the DC world is Gal Gadot, because she hasn't been involved in any scandals. B, The Rock doing Black Adam, and the whole Shazam characters, they're okay. And then C, The Peacemaker. Outside of those three things, man, everything else is very, we're not sure what's happening here. And it sucks because the Snyder Cut, which I was a huge fan of, felt like something where they could go in that direction and fix a lot of problems. And the way that Snyder was going to develop his next 3 movies, I actually liked the direction. I didn't love everything, but I liked the fact that he actually had direction. Whereas it really feels like Warner Brothers, Discovery, whatever, just have no idea where to take this right now. And every time that they change management, they change their mind about what they're going to do. So what are they going to do?
I mean, you're right, it's an absolute dumpster fire. They are effed in so many ways, it's hard to even count. And you did a great job recounting all of them. I'd forgotten about some of them. But it just goes to show you, they're in really dire straits with the future of their movies in the movie universe. I agree with you that I liked the Snyder Cut quite a bit. Once I got to see the full totality, now it's a little bit of an anomaly because that movie would have never worked in
Agreed.
in a shorter version. There's just so much going on in there. But what if you do, I broke it up into segments and watched it, I think, in 2 sittings. But what he does set up there is quite good. It's not amazing, but it has,
he's got the evil Superman stuff. He's a little bit of Injustice, a little bit of Flashpoint. It's the reason why. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying I think it's good, but it's also, at least he had a direction. At least he knew where he was going,
I know. It laid the groundwork. It's so shitty that they abandoned it because, I get it. There was not good reception to the theatrical cut, which is a terrible movie, and Joss Whedon completely, I think, compromised that with his... he did what he's basically hired.
But yeah, he was hired to do it. That's the problem. They told him to do it,
right.
Yeah.
Right. But... that was such an unpopular movie when it came out, really on the heels of another failure, Batman vs Superman, that they decided to not continue that direction when they had invested in what I think are their core characters with that movie. And to abandon those characters in their arc and choose to go with all these side, characters, building them up, um, building
And don't
Black
even
Adam up.
forget, don't even forget the Suicide Squad fiasco. Like the Will Smith didn't want to come back, and David Ayer wants his cut out. Like it seems like almost everything they do is cursed except for Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Shazam.
It had some hits, in unexpected areas, things that turned out to be good, which are now kind of in the forefront of the conversation. Well, they can, they've got Peacemaker, they've got the Suicide Squad, they've got like Wonder Woman and still working, which is kind of a scattershot pantheon of relevant characters. It's not, your anchor team being Justice League with those key characters that you wanted to initially build around. Your Superman, which has not been good. Your role that's just not written to the level of satisfaction that people wanted. And then they de-emphasize him to put in Batman right away. So Henry Cavill never really got off the ground as Superman, which is a huge shame. So it's tough because, okay, so to answer your question, what do you do? I think I might be in the minority here to where I think that you need to, with David Zaslav, president of Discovery Group, who's now overseeing Warner Media and their movie department and things like that, and the new plan that he announced with his 10-year vision that they're going to have, much like the MCU. It's funny because that's kind of what was announced initially at Comic-Con
Yes,
right after.
dude,
They were
that's what
like,
I'm saying. We've heard this before.
we've heard this before. Like, what does that mean? You're going to start fresh with a new 10-year plan where you reboot it and you restructure the universe to be around Black Adam? And he's now the new forefront because that looks like it's kind of possibly their big, and Shazam, that as the kind of center point as the DCU. I love Shazam, by the way. I think that movie is great.
No, and it's fun. And part two sounds fun too.
Part two sounds fun too, but it's kind of weird to anchor your universe around them. So they've got some remnants of. It's tough because they've got some remnants of the old team that they
Yeah,
can
but Batman and Superman are so important. That's like
and
that's like 1A and 1B, bro.
Batman and Superman. You need your Batman and Superman. Now, they said that they're going to introduce the African American Superman, the Earth 23 President Superman in a, black directed, black starred in movie that is going to be, multiversal, kind of like the Batman is. And
Oh, so that one's not going to be part of the main DCEU then.
It doesn't seem like it. No, it seems like
And
it's
that's gonna confuse fans.
It's going to confuse fans. And I could see them not moving forward. I think J.J. Abrams was attached to direct that too.
Originally, yeah.
But it might not be anymore. But I could see them, scrapping that, or just reimagining it to fold it in. I think what they need to do for their 10-year plan is take what they have that's working, find a way to you've got Wonder Woman, Shazam, Aquaman still kind of in the mix.
Peacemaker.
He's in there.
And the Suicide Squad. You still got them around.
Black Adam and the Justice Society of America, who are going to be involved. Now they're typically a team from the 1940s.
Right.
I don't know how they factor in as just a kind of already in existence superhero team in this Black Adam movie, but I think it would be wise to prop them up as a Justice League like thing to be your kind of new superhero team, or maybe fold them into the Justice League. But I really think that they need to find some way to keep Henry Cavill, on retainer going forward as the Superman of these movies and put him in a new Superman movie. That is something that is so important to me as a fan, and to see in the MCU or the DCEU going forward.
Yeah.
Is Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman still going? Doesn't seem like that. Doesn't seem like that's likely though, because Ben Affleck is in doubt whether he'll continue. Probably not. And same with Henry Cavill. Although Henry Cavill was not a very wide known actor, so for me to see that he's done with Superman after only a few movies, I mean, I could see it if it's not working, but I didn't think that he was ready to evolve from that role yet. I guess he is, but yeah.
So what you're saying is the first thing you do is go talk to Affleck and talk to Cavill and see if you can get him on board for a few more films, right?
See how much of the Snyder, the remnants of the Snyderverse you can salvage into a team going forward that somewhat resembles the plan. I don't think you should reboot. I think you should use what you still kind of have and try to give those characters a little bit more, another shot to be put over on fans. And I think that
now, what about Ezra Miller?
Because what do you do? But that is now this is the true monkey wrench to everything.
I
Is
know,
that
because you
Ezra
need the
Miller is
Flash for
now unmarketable.
Flashpoint.
If they pull that movie, they're truly fucked because that movie was their, you know, consolidation of all the aspects of the DCEU into one new package that they want to work for them going forward. Now, I heard Batman and Superman are going to be rebooted out of the continuity. It's going to be Batgirl and Supergirl. I hope that doesn't happen. But
Well, yeah, but
that
Batgirl got canceled. That's what I'm saying. Like that was the
canceled,
plan,
right?
and then they got canceled. They got
I
because
know, and I'm
Batgirl
glad
was supposed to
they
get
canceled.
trained by Michael Keaton's Batman.
Right. Right. And if the reason that they said is true, they canceled it, like this movie didn't have a theatrical feel to it and we didn't feel comfortable putting it out. Because I heard that it was initially shot to be like an HBO Max direct thing. Because it was still kind of pandemic times, they want to do that. But then they thought, oh, you know, maybe we'll put it on theaters now that there's theater attendances up. Well, David Zaslav, the president, said that he is a big time believer in the theatrical experience, and he thinks that these simultaneous releases on streaming really hinder the viewing experience and cheapen the value of the movie. It deprioritizes people's,
I can see that.
see it, and that Top Gun Maverick was initially going to, like, just look at Top Gun Maverick. It's now $1 billion+ movie. That was initially going to be a Paramount Plus release.
Right. And
And
Tom Cruise fought for it, and that was a smart
yeah.
move.
And Christopher Nolan left Warner's Media or left Warner Brothers because and he went to I forget which new studio, but because of the release of Tenet on HBO Max. You know, actors and directors were all very pissed off about that whole thing. So anyway, I'm glad that they pulled that. It reaffirms their commitment to making the DCU something special. I'm not happy that they pulled. Like, it would have been nice if they released it on HBO Max directly, maybe. But anyway, it seems like they're going back to the drawing board a little bit. For the Ezra Miller thing, I think that you release the movie that you've already shot, and I think that you just recast Ezra Miller as the Flash. I don't think that you should waste the project that is like a $200+ million movie that's supposed to reboot your whole, already
But how,
doomed.
how do you recast him? If I mean, I have spoilers on the channel. I'm not going to get into the spoilers here in case people don't want to be spoiled, but I do have legitimate spoilers. He does not die in this movie. He continues on, and it has several
Right.
cliffhangers. So, how would
Right.
you go about recasting him if he's not dead? Do you reshoot the ending?
I think that you would need to. I mean, this is so tough. This is a real
It's
question. You
that's
can
why that's
on
why we're talking
over
about it.
on fans. Can you get away with just recasting Ezra Miller and having it be a different actor in the next movie?
Like
Just like, no,
you mean like just ignoring? Okay, I don't like when they do that. But plus,
I don't like it either, but this is a very extraordinary circumstance. We've never had like an actor with this whole franchise hinges on just go completely off the rails
you're
and
right.
become like a wanted
Yeah.
criminal.
Not to
They,
mention that not to mention that they could bring in one of the flashes from like the TV show. They could do that, but
yeah.
wouldn't you have to shoot a sequence that you kind of write off Ezra Miller's Flash? I mean, I guess with CG, they could maybe write him off sort of with camera trickery, kind of do what they did with Princess Leia in Rise of Skywalker, where you take unreleased blue screen footage and you repurpose it to kind of write him off. They could do something like that, right?
They could. It would be awkward. Any way you do it's going to be awkward. Like
I
if you
know.
kind of CG the face to transition at the end of the movie, like if there's some sort of Flashpoint reboot at the end, I mean, maybe what they could do is precast the Flash actor, have him premiere at the end of this Ezra Miller movie. Now it's a little bit of a. I mean, if I was the actor as the new Flash, I wouldn't want to appear on the back end of this like crazy Ezra
I
Miller movie.
know. I know.
But they have to do what they have to do, or they just. I mean, yes, it's awkward, but they're also in a unique position where the movie itself is a giant reboot at the end. So you could slip in a narrative reason for it to recast them, but
Right.
it's gonna be tough. Their hands are tied. There's really no elegant way to handle this Ezra Miller situation that makes a ton of sense. Now maybe Feige could engineer, like if this was Feige handling it, he does think of pretty extraordinary ways, or the MCU team is very good at like writing narrative reasons for it. They don't rely as much on the hard reboot as DC does, at least in the comics. But yeah, I mean the Ezra Miller situation is probably the biggest pickle of all of it. You've got also the limbo state of Batman and Superman and the refusal to kind of comment on whether they're still canon or are they still not. They haven't appeared in any movie since Justice League. Well,
Mm-hmm.
And, even in the Shazam movie, you only see Superman from the neck down, where I was like, please just show Henry Cavill, at least just to validate that he's still involved with this stuff. But, you only get that little reference. So I think that would quell a lot of people's fears and concern if you announced that Henry Cavill, and that was something that was rumored at Comic-Con, was
Yeah,
that
but
they
that
think,
was a Screen Rant rumor. You know what
I
that
know,
means?
yeah, you can take no stock in that. But I really, really, really don't think that they should give up on the Snyderverse thing that they've built towards, because these movies have already taken enough of a hit. If you were just to say that they don't matter now and that like none of that matters, well then there's very little to enjoy it, like take away from that whole time period, because they're not going to try to salvage them, and they have
And
some that are
it
still.
might also leave a lot of fans pissed.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It would leave fans pissed because you invested all this time. You're not even going to give it a go to try to salvage them after one or two bad movies with them in it. I know you've had a lot of bad movies overall, but I don't think that fans were ready to just say goodbye to Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck. Also, you've got your pieces that you're still keeping in continuity, like Wonder Woman and Aquaman. They're clearly investing a ton of movie and money in those characters and their continued solo movies. So what, are you just gonna have some new characters and you're gonna have some of the old ones, or you're gonna have a universe now with no Batman, no Superman, and just the characters that are work at the forefront? But that makes no sense. It's the DC universe. You got to have Batman and Superman. They're the world's finest. That's the pairing right there. So
Right.
I think that they need that. But now we go over to the other side of things. These multiverse movies, these one-offs like the Joker and the Batman. The Batman is clearly a big deal for them, and they're going to be continuing that movie.
Yeah,
Going
that's its
forward.
own thing. Yeah, they have like a little mini universe with like the Penguin HBO Max show and stuff like that.
Exactly. That is
Yeah.
the Matt Reeves universe, much like the Nolan verse. He wants to keep it as grounded and realistic
Right.
and unfucked with by the rest of the movies as possible. I'm sure he doesn't want to get that mired in the continuity of the DCU and all of its drama and its problems and uneven storytelling. So he'll probably exist. I don't think he'll ever cross over. Like in this multiverse Ezra thing, maybe he's the Batman. Maybe, Pattinson is the Batman for the
I was going to
DC
ask you about that.
going forward, but it just doesn't mesh with the tone of those movies. To see him then appear in this crash bang zap, action movies like the Shazam, like the Black Adam movie and stuff going forward, which that's another one. So I could see them now pivoting, which this is actually very likely, I think, positioning Black Adam as the primary hero, primary
Because it's The
protagonist.
Rock.
Because it's The Rock, which I don't like The Rock's act. I love The Rock. I think he's great. I think he's a super nice guy, and I don't dislike him. But I think his acting is very weak. He's no John Cena. John Cena proved with the Peacemaker role that he is, much like Chris Hemsworth, a very good comedic actor. He's got good timing, and he's pretty natural with it. To me, The Rock plays the same damn character, and people say this about him, but he has this, like, the world wants a hero. It got me kind of thing, where he just reads every
Very
line.
80s. He's like the new Arnold in many ways.
There's no subtlety to it. It's the same, Mr. Strong Guy hero role, like voice in every role. It's so stilted and forced, and it doesn't have any of the natural, cadence and timing and sound to it that like the John Cena character does, or John Cena is able to do with his acting ability. So I mean it. And the second issue I take with that is that Black Adam is a villain. He's
Yeah.
not a super anti. I mean, he is a little bit of an anti-hero at times in the comics. He can be, but he's like Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom, he's very much a Doctor Doom. He has his own kingdom, which he protects. I guess that's kind of anti-hero. But he mostly serves to antagonize the heroes 99% of the time. So for them to build
And
him up,
wasn't the original plan that he was going to be a villain in Shazam? I remember hearing that years ago.
yes, well, they offered him the role of who he wanted to play. Like, what do you want to be your star vehicle? Do you want to play Shazam or do you want to play Black Adam? And then he picked Black Adam. So I think that's what caused him to say, okay, well, then we'll give you a Black Adam solo movie. He picked Black Adam as the character he wanted to play.
Right.
So I think he liked the kind of, the villainous quality that he has, but he's also protects his people. He wanted to be a little bit dangerous. He wanted to be kind of a more edgy character, not such a good guy. Well, they are now making his movie a star vehicle where Black Adam is just a good guy. That he's a ruthless good guy. He's not afraid to kill. They established that in the trailer. So I mean, that's kind of nice. But I think that this is going to pivot him with sequels to be this like leader of the DCEU, which again further scatters the consistency across all of their lead characters. Now you could say it gives them a range, but it doesn't feel like a spread like Marvel does, where they have an established corner of their universe and characters that anchor each corner. DC feels like a random assortment of aspects of the universe that just so happen to work and are kind of out on an island within of themselves. So
That's
they're
where we're
Amber,
at now, for sure.
right? That's where we're at now.
What
So
about the Amber Heard thing?
right,
They
how do you
pulled
get
her. They brought her back.
maybe? Oof. That's a tough one. I mean, you're gonna have to. She's in the second Aquaman movie.
Yeah, and
That's already
remember she got pulled originally, and they brought her back. And I think a lot of fans see the problem is that DC is pissing off a lot of people, dude. But it's not all their fault. The Snyder cult, the Snyder fans are pissed at them already for not continuing that vision. Fans of Henry Cavill are pissed. The Amber Heard fans, if she has any left, are pissed. But the Johnny Depp fans are really pissed. You know what I mean? Like they. That's why I said, are they cursed? Because this is bullshit.
this is an insane number of controversies and conflicts for them to have on their hands at one time.
That's why I was saying, should you just scrap the whole thing and start over again? That's what I was legit.
And then you've got legitimately bad people, toxic people that this is a difference between they said something controversial and now people want them canceled, blah, blah, blah. This is like actually, I mean, the Ezra Miller one is beyond what anyone's ever seen with the modern celebrity.
Right, the Ezra Miller one's beyond Amber Heard, but I mean, it's still two controversies with existing characters.
And it's still unfinished. There could be a chance after we record this that this Ezra Miller saga comes to an end with somebody getting hurt. Something very tragic happening.
Right. Right.
So that could heavily impact the movie. I mean, if they end up, hurting others and cross the line in an even greater way than they already have, it's going to.
Dude, it could lead to other actors dropping out. Like that's the thing. What if like Gal Gadot says, "Screw this, I'm out of here." She could do that.
She could. And her last movie wasn't very good. Wonder Woman 1984. I didn't love that. So she could be feeling mixed emotions on her future with the DCEU, although that made her a star, much like Henry Cavill. They kind of owe their careers to these movies right now. But yeah, it's really contingent on.
Do you think, before we get out of here, that they could do like a Crest on Infinite Earths type of story where they figure out ways to write people out and then bring in like a new version and then start like that, like sort of like what we had for Avengers, where they use it to kind of close out some stories and start new ones?
Flashpoint. I mean, that's what that movie is supposed to do. It's hard for them to
But I mean, like make the Flashpoint story even bigger.
Right. I mean, that'd be crazy if they reshoots for Flashpoint where they add a new Flash in at the end, or they add elements that write out Amber Heard or consolidate reality in a way. Like DC has done this in awkward ways before. There's a story called Crisis on Infinite Earths where they wanted to do some things. They wanted to bring back Superboy Prime. They wanted to bring back Jason Todd. So they had Superboy Prime punch the walls of reality, and just a very convenient mix of characters came back to life that they just wanted to have alive again, but that really made no sense. It was just the random ripples of reality being restructured that brought these certain select characters back to life. That could be what we see with the DCEU. Or we could see Amber Heard just referenced in the beginning of Aquaman 3, like, yeah, it's tough that Mira and I went our separate ways, but that's just life, and we just never see her again. So it's, I could see Mira's a character that doesn't really need cosmic, reality warping to just get out of the story. She's not super pivotal to the fate. She's not like a marquee character. She's important for sure. But she's not an anchor character that you need going forward. I could see
they could write her out easily.
Writing her out, it's more the Ezra Miller conundrum and the Superman and Batman glaring absence that is really the big deal here. I think they need to salvage. To consolidate, what I think they need to do here is I think that they need to recast Ezra Miller and probably still put out the Flash movie because it seems like that's so much work and narrative goes into that. Or maybe they don't. Maybe it's just, but I want to get the ball rolling here on the new foot for things. Okay, so recast Ezra Miller in the post-Flashpoint landscape. Roll with the Flashpoint landscape going forward, but I don't think they should give up on Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck. Or at the very least, recast them post-Flashpoint. You just need a Superman and Batman in that universe. I think that they also need to Probably, I don't know. I hope Black Adam doesn't become the face of the DCEU going forward, but he probably will. But to the point of his movie, I think that they need to pivot over to the Justice Society of America as being like the team that at least takes up the spotlight for a while. Because they have the look and feel of a Justice League. You have your big superhero team there, and then the Justice Society of America is also fucking awesome. I love the Justice Society. They've got some of the coolest characters. They've got Doctor Fate, Atom Smasher, Captain Atom,
Right.
who's one of the most
But
powerful. He's
you're right about one thing though. They need either Superman, Batman, or both. They need
or
that. You
both.
know what I mean? Like the
Exactly.
Ezra Miller thing can be a temporary fix. You can do a
Right.
thing where you reshoot the ending of the film and you have him die in the time stream or something. Then another
Right.
Flash appears. That could actually, I think that's what I would do if they're gonna
Yeah.
really
Right.
write him out of this thing. And then, but you have to, in order to curry favor with the fans again, even if you bring in Just Society, which is, I agree with you, it's fine, but you got to talk to Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck to do at least, 2 or 3 more movies, man. At least that, and have a direction. Because you're right, Superman never got off the ground. Remember, we were supposed to get Man of Steel 2 first. The plan was Man of Steel 2, then Batman v Superman. But then that changed. Then it became, well, Man of Steel 2 and 3 are going to come later. Because I remember Snyder talked about story ideas for Man of Steel 2 and 3 after the regular Justice League movies ended, and he had ideas for that. So again, we have a guy in Zack Snyder, like him or not, he had direction, and they got rid of him. Bullshit, man. Well, anyways, let us know in the comments, folks, what you would do. It's a mess. I mean, it really is a mess. Do you scrap the whole thing, or do you do what we suggested, which is figure out a way, a clever way? Again, with CGI, you can do it. You can have like some dude in like a Flash suit, but you don't really show his face, like getting destroyed in the time stream or something, and then a different Flash shows up. Oh, well, you screwed up the timeline, whatever. I know that Ezra Miller is a big part of that movie. I mean, a big part of that movie. So because he plays himself in the past and himself in the present. So you're gonna have to figure out a way to do it. Maybe introduce like the evil Flash,
Yeah. Right.
and then branch that into another movie with the new Flash. I don't know. It's tough. But thanks for stopping by, dude.
Absolutely. It's always fun.
All right, we'll talk to y'all next time. Thanks again.